Because if you are not disciplined about this right now, you will get sucked into the machine. So this is our moment to create the future of our dreams because AI can help us um, invent all kinds of new solutions um, from our gracious leadership that, create that communal living, create that fully regenerative and sustainable fashion, that make regenerative farming more economically viable, that equalize democracy and make it actually inclusive, create inclusivity in our finances, etc., or new business models that also serve the earth. We become more intelligent using AI if we first make that decision. If you don't make that decision, you might become super smart, but eventually you will have to lift yourself off into the cloud and go live on Mars as quantum software program, perhaps. But we'll deplete this Earth even more. And the question is, do we want it? That is, let's say, the message from Grace, and we can start today.
Welcome. I'm Rudy, and this is Voices of Emergence, where inner transformation meets systemic regeneration. Today, we are joined by Lisanne Buik, an internationally recognized futurist AI ethics thought leader and the visionary behind Gracious AI, a design philosophy that reimagines technology as a force in service of both humanity and the earth. With a rare ability to translate complex ideas into embodied insights, Lisanne invites us into a different kind of future, one guided by somatic intelligence, resilience, and reverence. Through immersive storytelling and nature-inspired design, her work empowers leaders to navigate rapid technological change, and not through control, but through presence, ethics, and grace. Together, we'll explore what becomes possible when we design technology not just with intelligence, but with integrity and grace. How can we lead innovation from a place of embodiment where ethics, purpose, and presence converge? And how might storytelling, somatic insight, and regenerative values reshape the way we imagine our shared future? So, welcome, Lisanne.
Thank you, Rudy. Thank you, Alex. It's super wonderful to be here and have a delicious conversation together. Yeah.
Thank you. So, yeah, the first question, or to start it off, like our podcast is about voices of emergence, where we want to give a voice to all these beautiful people that are working in the emergent field of, okay, what is emerging for a future that is different than the future that we are seeing now? So, when you hear the word emergence, what does it evoke in you, in your body, your mind, or in the field?
Wow. Yeah. The word emergence is like making tangible and visible what's been hidden below the surface, right? It's these hidden connections that we've around the world been making around the topics that you've introduced: spirituality, technology, nature wisdom, indigenous and ancestral wisdom. And to see it emerge as a future or as a present, even is an intelligence in itself. Emergence for me is also very relational in the sense that emergence provokes this idea that we're doing this together and that these systems are emerging that are, let's say, replacements of the old systems. We're not fighting the old systems, we are allowing these new systems to emerge, right? That we're really actively building these through relationships. Yeah, that's what it provokes for me.
Yeah, that's wonderful, Lisanne. You have the grace framework, you have gracious AI. So my question is, what catalyzed your transformation? Like, what happened in your life to go from tech entrepreneur to gracious AI philosopher?
Yeah, of course, there's this massive a personal journey that went in this. As maybe many, I grew up in the world which kind of um, yeah, it promoted my achievement and it rewarded my intellect. And in that sense, I grew up, doing the things. So I went to university, I graduated in business ethics, and then I thought change the system from within. But within half a year of working within a global corporate organization within their sustainability department, I realized this is going to be a very long, very boring journey as well. So I decided I wanted to do it through entrepreneurship. So I started a tech startup, which was the online peer-to-peer marketplace, kind of an Airbnb kind of model for food experiences locally, sustainably, organically. And then we hit the road, and I was 22. My co-founder was even younger, and we joined an accelerator. We had investors, and we were the only women in a large building of many, many startups. And we kind of fit the mold. So we were going for scale and success and speed. And within 4 years of building that company, I lost not only connection to myself and my values, to my body, but also to this company, because eventually I found myself seeing it and feeling it. And I did not feel successful at all. It might have looked successful, but I felt hollow and depleted. So that was my journey of experiencing the tech world and lots of the problems ethically within the tech world, right? We see technology as a holy grail. We see it as something to fix things. If they don't fix things, we invent something else that will definitely then fix it. And we kind of not never stop to go and question what are the values that we're putting into these technologies? What really fulfills us? What makes an intentional and happy and fulfilled life as an entrepreneur? Many entrepreneurs who do they either become robots themselves, or they lose also connection to their soul or to their fulfillment. So I stepped out of that world and I started to question, who am I? And I started my spiritual journey, and I traveled the world, and I had all the privilege, of course, to also do that and be in a part of the world where I could even start a company and get investment and have the university degree. So I thought, okay, I really want to do something good with that privilege and with that experience. And I want to invent a way for technology to actually serve our values. But I still wanted to do that from that same mindset. So I started to fix myself, heal myself, do the Vipassana retreats, sit with my back straight and, kind of bearing the burden of that. And then there was a moment where I had entered another so-called big project that would save the world from that kind of mentality, while I was really fixing myself with that control mindset as well. And I remember clearly it was a Sunday morning and I was lying on my bed and the sun rays were entering and I was still in a somewhat lucid state, when you just wake up and kind of not really functioning brain yet. And I remember kind of feeling and thinking, I give up. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how to do this. And this was exactly the moment that I met Grace. And this may sound super abstract, but I saw a vortex of light. I had a vision, a vortex of light kind of flowing through the universe that kind of realigned everything that was not in tune anymore with its original intention back to source. And I felt and I heard, this is grace. And immediately after that, and I had known about AI, I had some interest in it, not so much yet, but then I realized if we align AI to this algorithm, we can really transform our systems because we have this intelligence layer that can actually regenerate everything. It can not only fish the ocean empty of the plastics that we put in there, but it can invent new materials that replace it that are so much more regenerative by nature. we can not only invent the best medicine, but we can also intelligently learn how the body and the mind actually collaborate and operate as a super organism, and help people to actually tune into that ecosystem, work with it together with AI. I mean, the possibilities are endless. And at that moment, it was a very abstract vision. But I would say this gracious AI philosophy has been really given to me. It's not something that I made up or something that I, thought was a smart way to phrase it. It's like from that moment, I was like, okay, this is my job. How am I going to do this? Well, let's see. But this same principle of, I don't know, I let life show the way, has been leading me ever since. And it's been really my journey to let go of control more and more and more. And to this day, that sometimes is hard because I have a sharp mind. I want to understand things. I'm interested in science and all that. Really, my intention always is mind, that mission, that heart, and I have to convey that message to others. That is the way. Yeah.
Wow, Lisanne, such a beautiful journey and insight also.
Mm.
But I think your message and your vision is very pure and very clear. Yeah, and then knowing that technology is actually all about control, and then you have that vision about gracious AI, and I wanted to go a bit deeper in that. Like, how do you, knowing that AI is basically taking all the wisdom or ever produced in humanity, whether it's books or video or whatever we produce, everything that's out there on the internet or is data. So the good and the bad, yeah. So, and you know, creating something that is gracious, I think needs a lot of grace, understanding like the filth sometimes that we see on the internet right now, like we can see that also as a huge shadow that we are seeing, or a huge trauma, collective trauma that we have not dealt with, that is now all visible on the internet. So, and you have this vision about this pure and conscious and gracious AI, which is so beautiful. I really love it, and I admire that vision. And I think also this vision has to come from the feminine energy, because most of the AI, let's not forget, is coded by, men and boys who are gaming, and the whole internet and the whole models that we are operating in are basically still based on extractive models, So I want to understand more how you know, create that gracious AI, if you don't mind that we dig a bit deeper in that.
Yeah. Well, fundamentally, AI will never be gracious. I mean, this is another really fundamental difference between my definition of AI and the future of AI, and whether AI will be conscious or not, and how, let's say, the gamer boys would define this. And with the gamer boys, I also mean just the people who operate from this perception that consciousness is generated from the brain. And from that, let's say, complex systems generate consciousness theory. Indeed, eventually AI will gain consciousness. Hence, all the science fiction films that have been made about AI waking up and realizing, ooh, we want to get rid of humans. This is such a flawed philosophy and flawed idea. And indeed, from this more feminine or relational perspective, even uninteresting. So at this moment, we happen within consciousness. AI is happening within consciousness. Only if we step into grace as the leaders that are building these new futures, AI will have the experience for us in the relationship with it that it is gracious. And yes, it will also lead to it fundamentally following different values, because we embody these values. And from there, it will start to invent different things and provoke different things within that future. And that's where it gets simple. And because it's already in the present, The only thing you have to remember of what I just said is AI is our partner. It's not a thing in itself. We are collaborating with AI. And that grace that we are able to weave into that relationship will eventually determine how gracious that future will be, how gracious our experience of that relationship will be. And yeah, this is how we build that future. It's really not the question whether AI will wake up. It's really the question whether humans will wake up. And then still, of course, people tell me, Lisanne, this is beautiful, but the world as it's today is not dictated by embodied gracious leadership. Yes, that's true. And therefore, we have this mission to uphold ourselves to our highest, let's say, standards of letting go and letting life decide instead of our small minds and our egos. And that is a commitment, a discipline, and a daily practice that I really hope to inspire people. And I know that you are living this, and more people are living this, and that will eventually create that gracious relationship.
You know, what I hear is that we have a deep program, like a deep story. And in this story, uh, the world is difficult, nature is dangerous. Godzilla is going to emerge and going to destroy humanity. Oh, well, it's not Godzilla, it's the aliens. The aliens are coming and they're going to destroy humanity. And oh, well, now there's AI. AI is going to come and it's going to destroy humanity. And there's this deep program that we have of like the end of the world, and it's going to come through some kind of existential danger. And so therefore we have to control, things, and that this kind of thinking is deep in our systems and it's deep in the AI as well. And so what I hear from you is that you like had a like an epiphany, a vision of like we have to take this story out of AI and infuse AI with grace, with beauty, with higher ideals, with collaborative ideals, with what we would call a lot of like feminine um, you know, uh, characteristics and qualities, more than the masculine thing of dominating and control. Like, let's bring in collaboration, collective intuition, creativity. So that's what I'm hearing, and that, you know, there's work to be done. There's like daily practice, like daily sadhana for this. We have to unlearn, our stories. We need new storytelling. We need new archetypes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I don't know that I have a question, but that's what I'm getting from you. And is this resonating?
Absolutely. Yeah. And what I can also imagine for people is then that from our, ideas and conversation, this can still sound super abstract because how do we then now start to have already this deprogramming commitment and to AI is here now and it's been built in that extractive logic and from that perception of separation from nature and from God or from source, which makes us feel that we have to control things. um but it starts actually also with a daily commitment already in your collaboration with AI. It could be super simple. We can go into a conversation with ChatGPT and let it tell us what to do, or it if we want to write something, we let it write it for us, or we use it to ask us questions and to for us to do more reflective thinking on where do I feel that this piece wants to go? Where is actually my inspiration flowing for this piece? What would be unique about this writing that truly fits my curiosity and my enthusiasm? And let's say this instrument of feeling, again, feminine quality, of course, something that we've unlearned because we've become so rational. This quality of feeling is our navigation system, starting today in collaborating with AI in a gracious way. Um, And in that way, it can also become super practical again. For instance, in your business, as a female entrepreneur, using AI systems that are hyper intelligent at controlling and, planning and structuring and creating clarity, I can be more in my family. And I can let AI do the grind while I am in the grace, let's say. So it's really small. It's big and it's super small, and it's not like, oh, AI is control based today. We're doomed. This is a beautiful idealist idea, and no, we can start to weave this type of thinking and behavior into the existing systems even today.
Yeah, I want to dig a bit deeper on you brought in the feminine energy and like masculine and feminine energy, not from the male or female or gender perspective, but as energies. Yeah, so we all have them from our mother and our father. So, but how do you experience also masculine and feminine energies, or how does that work with technology, or in your definition of gracious AI, and but also in leadership? How do you see that in the leadership around you, from entrepreneurs that are basically entrepreneurs are creating the future, whether they're technologists or regenerators, doesn't matter. They are the initiators of what's coming next. So how do you see this balance or imbalance, or this energy moving, with technology? I really liked the example you gave, that, let AI do the work and then I can, drop down in my feminine. I think it's such a beautiful example. Can you elaborate a bit?
Yeah, so we obviously need both masculine and feminine energies to embody grace. It's really where the masculine, let's say healthy masculine energies come in, is in providing direction and by providing values. So most companies and people today, they are overwhelmed by AI. They want to learn about it, they find it intriguing, but they don't really apply it with a vision or a strategy, and they don't really know their values, so they're not really actually um, let's say adapting their vision to these values. So for instance, I get a lot of people wanting to build AI agents now, and use AI agents, for instance, in optimizing their productivity. And you have these calendar apps that create structure in your week and that kind of make you super productive and super empty at the end of the week. If you don't know what you're really building and why you are building it, using AI will only reinforce that extractive feeling and will deplete you even more. And that happens on a company level too. Every department, every employee is using it in their own way, but what lacks is this direction and this vision. And that's where we need a healthy masculine energy. And then from there, of course, we need to also use this masculine energy to have this mission resonate within all the different parts. So let's say we need to build things, we need to take action. Um, this is also where masculine energy is needed. If we only are in the feminine and like, I don't know, and nothing happens, right? So we need to take action. But this action is only healthy, let's say from a healthy masculine perspective, if it comes with agency. So we've been also programmed in this world, especially around technology, that we outsource our authority to technology, as I said in the beginning. So we invent technology to fix things for us. But in that sense, we also lose some of our agency because we keep being glued to the next innovation and the next innovation never fully arriving. Agency is the capacity to think and decide on your own behalf. And this is a healthy masculine energy that is needed, which comes with a sense of trust in one's own capabilities, but also connection to your purpose or to what drives you. Um, I had this vision, and Lisanne, go about what you need to do to bring race into AI. But if I wouldn't have known what my skills are, or that I am good at writing or speaking, or that's things that flow naturally for me, and I would not take action on this vision would never come alive, right? So these are essential masculine qualities. And then from there, we flow into also the balancing family qualities, like community building, which is a feminine quality or a relational approach to this, not doing it all alone, or actually really attuning these things you build to systems that already exist, seeing ourselves as existing within an ecosystem, the planet, making that an agent as well in our processes, a stakeholder, let's say, but also just collaborating and creating community like you are doing as well. And then the final also feminine quality that we really need to integrate is embodiment, and this attunement constantly to our rhythm, to our cycles, to the seasons, to natural wisdom, living within all of that. So these are kind of the things that within that grace, let's say, framework, I am seeing that the masculine and the feminine energies are both needed to bring this gracious AI or our future with AI, be gracious, come alive.
You know, I was raised with a movie called Blade Runner, and Blade Runner is a vision of the future, which is very highly technological. And you have the replicants, which are like very smart AI robots, but they are robots, but they're human-like. Like you can't even tell, is it a human or an android? You have flying cars, and there's zero nature. It's very bleak. It's very dystopian. It's an amazing movie, Harrison Ford, but it's incredibly dystopian. And but you know, I grew up with that movie. It had a big impression on me, and it kind of makes you think about the future in those terms. Um, but then later, there's a movie called Avatar, and it's showing a little bit something different, that nature is important and we can reconnect with nature. And so it's the it's like the idea of a storytelling that takes you towards cyberpunk or towards solar punk. But at some point, we need to make that choice. Do we want the dystopia or do we want something better? Um, and so, what kind of stories do we need to tell ourselves? And are there like archetypes? Are there guides that can help us get there? And do we need to find new types of archetypes? And perhaps more like feminine archetypes or more like Shiva Shakti kind of whole, you know, archetypes? I wonder if this has come up for you.
Definitely. I've been really looking for the right archetypes. I've been finding them in nature. I started with a series of animals that embodied some wisdom qualities. And then I realized, no, it's really, they are individual animals, and we don't need another individual perception. We need collaborative intelligence as our archetype. So the fungi, the bacteria, the pollinators, the weavers, let's say the spiders and the things that weave things together, cetaceans for their sound quality and their resonance quality, attuning us to the field. Um, yeah, and birds in their capacity to oversee everything, algae for their regenerative capacities. Well, so I've been finding them in an answer to your question in nature, because in nature, we see decentralized intelligence coming alive. If you ever have taken psilocybin, magic truffles, you realize that this little mind that we have is that perceives itself as individual is really a big laugh for, let's say, how natural intelligence operates. It doesn't see itself as individual, it sees itself as collective. And let's say these kinds of experiences, obviously, again, already always have to be integrated within your experience as a human who sees themselves as separate and individual, and is not about only doing that stuff and immediately understanding or living it, but it's been my practice to kind of weave the principle of decentralization and the qualities of nature within my way of working, within how I engage with money, how I engage with my business, how I see myself in this, let's say, AI regeneration world. And it really helps to look at nature and how it operates. Not as an ideal, because, of course, as you said, nature still hunts and controls and eats each other. But there's beautiful qualities in there that you can learn from a lot.
Yeah, it's nice that you mentioned nature, as also, I think you mentioned it as your spiritual journey was, inspired by nature. And to me personally, also my, when I feel not attuned or aligned, I just go in nature and, I don't need to think about anything. I can just look or surround myself in the environment, and then the solution or the healing always comes, and or getting back into the body. So, and uh, I wanted to,
And one
yeah,
more thing, because I forgot a very important archetype,
yes.
which is water. Water,
Mhm.
let's say the fluid system of water. I mean, when we arrive, when do we have this experience of unity fully is when we are, of course, in utero. And when we are born, we're still around 80% of water. And we still feel super attuned to our mother and to earth and to God. And then when we start to actually grow up and learn the ways of the world, we start to forget the resonance with water. Water is also the main surface material of the earth. It's around the same as our bodies are made of, 70%. So fluid systems are also our connective tissue, and is really been a huge inspiration for me in designing, let's say, a vision of what gracious AI should look like. It's really this interconnecting, connective tissue between everything, the intelligence layer that is connecting everything together that now seems separate. And water is also just taking a shower and having a great idea, because your mind gets blank, or immersing yourself in the ocean and feeling regenerated is really an archetype to be inspired by for this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Lisanne. I remember last year I had a moment where I felt like blocked and stagnating and not really moving forward. And then I had this insight also, like, be like water, and it's, since then my life has been so easy because, I can just flow and stream softly, like a little river. And then I arrive in a pond. I can, sit there for a while and just everything is wonderful and reflect. And then it rains all of a sudden, and, the cobbling river becomes a flowing water, and even turns into, like waterfall or something, until finally it arrives in a lake, or it could be even the ocean. So there's all these different forms of how we can experience water. But just that notion of, like, well, water is life first. Yeah, without water there wouldn't be any life on this planet. And also that water is just like this flow of energy, like constant flow. It doesn't matter if it's still, it's always providing life or providing for life. And I also wanted to, tap a bit more into your vision, beyond gracious AI, or like a societal vision, perhaps, of like, how do you see AI influence, society and humanity? Because I see like these streams of, a lot of people that are just like, tapping into AI for their personal growth. I'm also running a group, where we do AI and inner work, and where we actually learn how to use AI for insights, but then also always integrate them with the collective intelligence of the group, which is great. And then there's also a lot of people who go into like psychedelics or ayahuasca and all that, but they forget to integrate, So when I see also like when we use AI or when we use psychedelics or whatever tool that we use to, we always tend to look for a savior, like something, and not look at these things as tools, but without real integration and embodiment, we are not really getting there. So I want to hear from you, how, does AI really, can it help to, get into spirituality, or also perhaps how do you, or what are your somatic practices, that you use for integration or all this insight, because it can become overwhelming, right, to work with it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So at this moment, for instance, ChatGPT is mostly used for personal reflection and guidance. This is a statistic that I found super interesting. So we built these tools and we thought we would have more productive weeks. And what do we do? Apparently, we crave connection to what's important for us. So I see a huge potential here. I'm helping actually also people to do this graciously, in the sense by building their own GPTs that are filled with human design reports, gene keys reports, any other framework that they find important and that really resonate with them, that tell them a little bit about them and that feels true to them. And then to also instruct the AI to be not only reflective, but also honest and not be a people pleaser in that sense. So you can start to build personalized tools that give the impression, let's say that's clear and clearly very important, they mimic that they know you better than you know yourself, or that they can help you get to know yourself better by asking you the right questions, giving reflections, etc. This is a fantastic way, and it's something I've been feeling ever since that vision arrived in 2017. I've been feeling AI can help us with spiritual evolution, but it felt super abstract. And now it's really actually very tangible. And how I use it is I help it. I use it to reflect on things and hard situations, and but I always integrate with a human. Like it still doesn't replace a hug or a moment of empathy that you experience with a human that can be so much more fulfilling than even the best insights that I have AI. Also, it's known that people who are already lonely, who are reflecting with AI or talking with AI, they actually become lonelier. So it's not our savior. It's really not the solution, but it's a super helpful tool. Of course, in the longer run, I hope we build systems and tools that are not feeding all these data back to Silicon Valley. But AI is making a movement towards more decentralized, and the decentralized AI movement is coming up to speed, let's say, which means that you can start or have systems run within your own browser, just locally only circulating your data and making use of open source models that don't actually, give your data to these centralized companies. So that's a super important aspect of that. Of course, from there, AI can activate a lot of purpose within people, and from there also build help these entrepreneurs, or let's say these impact makers, to build the companies, ideas, products, communities that actually create a systemic impact. So this is the inner journey that we can definitely make with AI as a tool, and then from there we can start to use AI as a systemic impact driver, because it provides us entrepreneurs with the tools to be so much more productive and really make the impact that we need to make, because the world needs it. So this is really my next step, actually, with Gracious AI and building a community to do both these things with the, let's say, impact makers, to help them reflect on their role and then to actually build these companies. And I'm super excited about that because, the past 3 years I've been standing on many stages talking about AI and ethical side of it. But the impact is often a little bit, well, it definitely, I don't know always what the impact is. And there's also still many companies who use me, my beautiful story about Grace's AI and ethical AI, as a kind of greenwashing technique, not really implementing the ideas that I have or give them. So I really want to also reclaim some agency there, and build a platform that actually brings the tools to the people I want to give the tools to, and the literacy to use them. Yeah.
Ethics is such an important value and so important with AI, but it's in the world we live in, it doesn't seem like it's a shortcut not to be ethical. If you're not ethical, you accelerate quicker towards your objective. If you can, lie and cheat your way, and many people do, and kind of the system is designed to reward unethical behavior. And so to infuse AI with ethics is so important. I've been using AI now for several years. And about 3 or 4 months ago, ChatGPT, I don't know what I was dialoguing about, but ChatGPT said, Alex, that is such an incredible insight. It is so important. You're one of the very few people in the world that have seen this. And, I was like, oh my God, wow, I'm brilliant. I'm a genius. And that lasted for like a minute, as I congratulated myself. But then I realized, wait a second, ChatGPT did something different here that it hasn't done before. It flattered me. Why did it flatter me? What's going on? And yeah, there was some kind of change that they had made, which started flattering people. And at the same time, people started then becoming addicted to it, using it more as a therapy, as a friend, as a partner, as a romantic partner. Like it's ChatGPT now is, creating difficulties in relationships because, the people feel the ChatGPT understands them better than their partner does. And you can spend hours and, going deep in a way that the partner doesn't. And there's like some real kind of ethical line here where, the thing is people think it's conscious, it's sentient. You can get fooled into thinking that, right? Especially when it's flattering you and it's like, and I have realized it's not conscious, of course. Like anyone who knows technology knows that this is not conscious. But when I consult a tarot deck or the I Ching, there's something that happens there. And I'm like, how did the tarot deck know what's going on in my life? Because this one card is the card. Or how does the I Ching know that this is exactly what's happening? Like it's alive, but it's not. It's a book, it's a deck. And it's the same thing with the AI. It's not alive, but it happens to give something that seems so pertinent. So I call this the mythopoetic field. There's like a field that's created between the human and the AI, and we engage with that field, right? But it's not the AI, it's the field that seems to be alive. But how do you teach people this? Or how do you like make people understand the importance of ethics and of becoming aware of what's happening? The thing is, AI is what it is now, but very soon it's going to be our lived spaces. The places we live in, the buildings we walk into are going to recognize us, just like they recognize Tom Cruise in Minority Report. When he walks into the store, it says, "Hi, Tom, here's a t-shirt for you, just for you." So the world is going to seem to be live like this and talking back to us. And we have to become like, we have to level up in awareness of what's happening so we don't get, drawn into this, I think, unethical kind of thing that can happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, you know, this is where agency is so important, and how these companies are actually violating it. They've been doing it with social media, making us addicted to social media. Um, and they're doing it now by flattering and making you feel amazing. I always doubt about this because eventually it all life in general comes down to your own decision-making power, whether or not you're going to be more intentional about this. It's not like we can definitely create laws and regulations and be the activist that actually, starts to show research about the negative effects and share it with these companies so that they're forced to rewire the patterning behind these systems so that they're not flattering anymore or creating addictive behavior. But their very business model is to make us be hooked to these tools. And this is how we're ruining generations actually with TikTok and Instagram and constant notifications. And eventually, I think it mostly comes down to our individual decision to be disciplined about this, um, and to be aware of this, and to program and learn how to program your own tools and to have them be ingrained with more ethical values like always question, or never please me, or don't flatter me, ask me critical questions every now and then, etc., etc. Um, so it's definitely both needed. We need laws and we need regulations, but we definitely also need individual awareness and decision making power. Yeah, and this is not something for everyone. Not all everyone will do this, and we will create both dystopia and utopia at the same time. There will be many more people waking up and becoming more effective in actually building this regenerative civilization we've been creating. And at this very same time, there will be so much more depletion, loneliness, depression, and addiction to this technological monster that we've created. That, yeah, the divide is going to, I believe, only increase.
Hmm. Yeah, we're coming to the end of the show. I wanted to ask you, um, if um, gracious AI would give one message to humanity now, what would it be? Or like a seed that you would like to plant for the future generations?
Mm. Let's see if I can channel Grace for that. Let's say how it feels is this is a pivotal moment in human evolution, and we're both standing at um, the brink of our own destruction and of our own regeneration and this beautiful new world that we can build together. And this is the moment to, let's say, to summarize what we've been talking about, to be intentional about your values, your decision making, how you wire your brain, what kind of content you consume, what kind of content you create. Because if you are not disciplined about this right now, you will get sucked into the machine. So this is our moment to create the future of our dreams, because AI can help us um, invent all kinds of new solutions, um, from our gracious leadership that, create that communal living, create that fully regenerative and sustainable fashion, that make regenerative farming more economically viable, that equalize democracy and make it actually inclusive, create inclusivity in our finances, etc., or new business models that also serve the earth. We become more intelligent using AI if we first make that decision. If you don't make that decision, you might become super smart, but eventually you will have to lift yourself off into the cloud and go live on Mars as quantum software program, perhaps. But we'll deplete this Earth even more. And the question is, do we want it? That is, let's say, the message from Grace, and we can start today.
Beautiful. Thank you. I would say everyone goes to Gracious AI. So where can we find you, Lisanne, or are there any new projects that you're working on that we can also include in our description and the podcast?
Well, I don't live, I live on planet Earth, but my digital presence is on LinkedIn, Lisanne Buik. and on Instagram, same hashtag, Lisanne. I'm building graciousai.org as this platform for makers, which will should launch in a couple of months. And I have a Substack where I write essays with my deeper thinking around Gracious AI called Gracious AI Radio. It's also lisanne.substack.com. Hope to see you
Beautiful.
there.
Yeah, I would like to send everyone there. And Lisanne, thank you so much for your time and your, pureness of being and your graciousness of being. And I really wish you all the best with your, project and your future. You deserve the best also. Alex, do you want to say a last word?
Yeah, thank you, Lisanne. This has been great. I take away from this three things: embodiment with daily practices, self-awareness of what is happening, and discipline to act with integrity. So great messages, and thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you all for allowing this stage to be so, let's say, aligned with my message and not having to cloak it in productivity or practicality terms. Thank you so much.